Have you ever looked at the bottle sitting next to your coffee maker and wondered what's actually inside it? Not what the front label says. Not the pretty picture of cream swirling into a cup of coffee. What's really inside? Because here's something that surprised me. Many of America's most popular coffee creamers contain very little actual cream. Some are mostly water. Some rely heavily on oils. Some contain ingredient lists so long that they barely resemble something you'd pour into a homemade cup of coffee. And yet, millions of Americans use them every single morning. Now, this isn't one of those videos where I tell you to stop enjoying life and start drinking coffee made from leaves harvested on a mountain at sunrise. Not at all. Coffee is one of life's simple pleasures, especially after 50. For many people, that morning cup is a ritual, a moment of peace before the day begins, a few quiet minutes before the phone starts ringing and responsibilities start piling up. The problem isn't the coffee. The problem may be what we're putting into it. Today, we're looking at 3 popular coffee creamers that many consumers say aren't worth buying anymore, and 3 alternatives made with real cream that continue to earn praise from shoppers who actually read ingredient labels. Some of these products are incredibly popular. Some are sitting in your refrigerator right now, and one of them might completely change how you look at coffee creamer forever. Before we begin, let me know in the comments. What coffee creamer have you been using the longest? And while you're down there, subscribe for more honest reviews of everyday American products. Because sometimes the biggest surprises in the grocery store are hiding in plain sight. Let's start with one of the biggest names in America, Coffee Mate. Now, before anyone gets upset, let's be fair. Coffee Mate became successful for a reason. It's affordable. It lasts a long time. It comes in dozens of flavors. And for many Americans, it has been part of breakfast for decades. But here's the thing. Many people assume a coffee creamer is basically cream. After all, the word creamer certainly sounds like it should contain cream. Yet when shoppers start reading the ingredient label, they often discover something unexpected. Water, sugar, vegetable oils, then a long list of stabilizers and additives. Notice what isn't leading the list. Real cream. That surprises many people, especially older Americans who grew up in homes where cream was simply cream. Back then, if somebody wanted richer coffee, they poured actual cream into it. Today, many creamers are carefully engineered products designed to create the sensation of creaminess without necessarily using much actual cream. And that's why Coffee Mate lands on our list. Not because it tastes terrible. Many people genuinely enjoy it. But because the marketing often creates a very different impression from what's actually inside the bottle. One thing I noticed while reading reviews was how often people mentioned the sweetness, even when they weren't buying a dessert flavor. Many consumers said their coffee ended up tasting more like flavored candy than coffee. For some people, that's fine. But after 50, many adults start paying closer attention to added sugars than they did when they were younger. That's when products like this start raising questions. Now let's move to another giant, International Delight. If Coffee Mate has a competitor, this is probably it. Walk through almost any grocery store in America and you'll see rows and rows of International Delight products. French vanilla, caramel macchiato, hazelnut, sweet cream. The variety seems endless. And honestly, the flavors can be incredibly appealing. That's exactly why they sell so well. But once again, the ingredient list tells an interesting story. Many varieties rely heavily on water, sugar, oils, flavorings, and stabilizers. Not necessarily real cream. And here's something interesting. A lot of online reviews fall into 2 categories. People either absolutely love the flavor, or they say it tastes artificial. There doesn't seem to be much middle ground. One reviewer compared it to drinking melted ice cream. Another said it completely overpowered the coffee itself. And that brings up an important question. Are you drinking coffee anymore? Or are you drinking a coffee-flavored dessert? Because sometimes those are very different things. For older adults especially, many begin to appreciate simpler flavors. Less sweetness, less artificial flavoring, more actual coffee. That shift often happens naturally with age, which is why some long-time users eventually start looking for alternatives. Now, let's talk about a product that often flies under the radar. Great Value French Vanilla Creamer. This is Walmart's store brand version, and to be fair, it's inexpensive. Very inexpensive. For shoppers trying to stretch a budget, that matters. But many reviews describe the same recurring issues: artificial aftertaste, excessive sweetness, thin texture, and once again, the formula relies heavily on ingredients other than real cream. What's fascinating is that many consumers buy products like this without ever comparing the ingredient label to alternatives sitting right beside it on the shelf. The price difference might only be $1 or $2, but the ingredient difference can be enormous, and that's where things get interesting, because now we move to the creamers that surprised me in a positive way. First up, Natural Bliss Sweet Cream. This product stands out immediately when you look at the ingredient list. Why? Because the ingredients are actually recognizable. Milk, cream, sugar. Simple. Imagine that. A product marketed as cream that actually contains cream. What a revolutionary idea. One reason this product receives so many positive reviews is balance. People repeatedly mention that it enhances coffee rather than taking over the entire cup. The sweetness feels more restrained, the texture feels richer, and perhaps most importantly, it still tastes like coffee after you add it. That sounds obvious, but surprisingly, few creamers manage to accomplish that. Now let's talk about another favorite, Chobani Coffee Creamer. This one has developed a loyal following, and after reading hundreds of reviews, I started seeing the same words over and over. Smooth, rich, natural. Many consumers say it tastes closer to something they would make at home, and that may be its biggest strength. The ingredient list is generally shorter and simpler than many mainstream competitors. There's less of that laboratory feeling, less of that sense that someone assembled the product using a chemistry set. Instead, it feels more like actual dairy, which is exactly what many older consumers are looking for. Not perfection, not miracle health claims, just something closer to real food. Finally, we have what might be the simplest option on the entire list. Organic Valley Grassmilk Half and Half. Now technically, some people wouldn't even call this a coffee creamer. It's simply half and half. But honestly, that's part of its appeal. The ingredient list is refreshingly boring. Organic milk, organic cream. That's basically it. No complicated additives, no flavor laboratories, no mysterious ingredients nobody can pronounce. Just dairy. And you know what? Many older Americans are starting to rediscover something their grandparents already knew. Sometimes, simpler really is better. Not always, but often. The food industry spent decades convincing consumers that more ingredients meant more innovation, more flavors, more colors, more choices. But many shoppers are now moving in the opposite direction. They're looking for shorter ingredient lists, simpler products, foods that actually resemble food. And coffee creamers are a perfect example. Because when you compare some of the most heavily processed options with products made primarily from real cream, the difference becomes obvious very quickly. Now, does this mean you need to throw away your favorite creamer tonight? Of course not. Life is too short for that kind of panic. If you love your coffee mate French vanilla and it makes your mornings happier, enjoy it. The goal here isn't guilt. The goal is awareness. Because there's a big difference between choosing something knowingly and choosing it because marketing convinced you it was something else. And that's really what this entire discussion comes down to. Knowing what's in the bottle, understanding what you're buying, and deciding whether it matches what you actually want in your coffee. So now I'm curious. What coffee creamer is sitting in your refrigerator right now? And if you've switched from flavored creamers back to real cream or half and half, was the difference worth it? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, subscribe for more honest investigations into everyday American products, foods, and brands. And until next time, take a closer look at the label before you pour.